taking wood cards from the student and works in a and is Rabba, who is going to be soon the
director of the Wexner Heritage Program, and currently
is the director
of education.
and for Yaffa, and works at and review their work and of those.
Great. And in the Sanhedrin, the younger people spoke first so they wouldn't be like influenced by their teachers. So I'm calling you my teacher. It's weird. Anyway, cool. I often tell people that I am not a pluralist. And what I mean by that is that I spend my life in pursuit of a single capital T truth. I believe that a Kadosh Baruch Hu wants something specific from the Jewish people, and that our job as Torah observant Jews is to try and discern what that is and then live in accordance with it. So when I make decisions, even ones as small as how should I put on my shoes in the morning, those decisions are made with this kind of truth-seeking in mind. And so that means that when I tie my shoes in the morning, I'm doing that in the way that I think is right. And if someone else does it differently, therefore not doing it in the way that I think is right. So let me say loud and clear. That doesn't mean that I can't live around people that I think are wrong. Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel had massive disagreements in every area of halacha, all over the Mishnah. One can only imagine that those had extremely practical ramifications for how they live their lives. Their children would still marry each other. They didn't just live in a neighborhood of people they thought were wrong. They shared children and grandchildren with people they potentially thought were wrong. And it also doesn't mean I can't respect people I think are wrong. The Mishnah in the 5th chapter of Iyun records the story of a rabbi by the name of Akavya ben Mahalalel. And he disagreed with the majority of rabbis on a number of fronts. And they told him, change your opinions and we will put you in Beis Din in Israel. And he refused, saying that said, I would prefer to be called fool all my life, rather than become wicked even for 1 hour before the omnipresent. So he never retracted Akavya ben Mahalalel, and he was wrong. And some say they even put him in Nidui. They ostracized him. But at the end of the day, his teachings are respectfully preserved in Pirkei Avot. It doesn't mean they agreed. They still say Paskin in very practical ways against the Akavya ben Mahalalel. Anyone who's playing Hilchot, he thought yellows were prohibited. We say yellows are allowed. And some of his teachings, as well as his story, are respectfully preserved. That doesn't make us pluralists, but it does make us people who stand ready to learn from all people, even if in some ways we confidently say that they are wrong. So that's my vision of non-pluralism. Respect for other ideas, the ability to share, but ultimately a backbone of I'm in search of the one and only truth. That search dictates how I live my life. If another person lives their life differently, even under those exact same circumstances, then that person either A, knows something about the truth that I don't, in which case I need to figure out what that is and adjust my life to match theirs, or B, I know more about the truth than they do, and then they need to adjust their lives to match
mine. I want to say a few preambles. I love preambles. And the preambles. Exactly. I love hakamas, and I love qualifying things. And I actually want to start by, first of all, honored and excited that you're with us, and to my colleague, Leah, Sarna. I want to sort of display, and I'm very honored to be sitting here with you. And I also want to say that, and we're not talking about gender tonight. It's not on the agenda. We're not planning to talk about it. But I do think it would be, for me, it feels very momentous to be on account of Orthodox women rabbis and Sunni rabbis and Rabbanit. to give a shout out to Torat Chayim because I think he really represents. It's only this moment in time. I think 10 years we won't have to even acknowledge that norm in the same way that we have mammals all the time. We'll have whales. Okay. But in any event, I'm really proud of that. And we're okay. That's enough. And I also want to say that there's a real the reality of talking about pluralism and orthodoxy is challenging. We're also being recorded and live streamed, and I speak with trepidation, and also I think it's a really complicated and hard topic, and I wanted to put that out there. So we were tasked with, and we gave each other the task, opening with some text that represented our perspective on this. These are beautiful words from Leah. But the text that I love, and I think is just basically the Torah that I most live and believe in terms of pluralism, is Rav Kook has a beautiful interpretation in a lot, about a very famous passage in the Bavli, which talks about Rabba, that, right? That students of Torah, scholars, increased in the world, and of course, this very famous question of really, is that really what they do, right? We hope so, and I feel that they do. But in reality, they're what some of the greatest fights in Jewish history, and you could say world history, are about religious differences and I'm right and you're wrong. And even the wonderful examples of Hillel and Shammai, right? According to tradition, we also know that there was a lot of violence that broke out between those two camps. The Gemara doesn't really spend time on that, right? We know that that also is part of our story. So that's interesting and important. Notice that really sometimes Rabbanit can actually be those who cause the most stress. Along comes Rav Kook, and he says, no, you're misunderstanding what it means to be marbim shalom, what it means to really increase peace, i.e. we all agree and get along, and tolerance, but actually what peace means is shleimut. It actually shalom from the idea of wholeness and completion. And just to read his words, ki hashalom ha'amiti, I'm sorry. We're having another word sometimes. Ki hashalom ha'amiti, the only way real peace comes is through the multiplicity of peace, he says, right? That actually what true peace means is that all of the sides and all of the opinions are seen and are clarified, and each one has a place. And for me, what that means, what that teaches me about pluralism, is that I do not believe that pluralism is nevach b'diavad. I wish that. I'm not saying that you're saying that. I know you're not. I'm just saying I don't think that in the world. I don't think it's a b'diavad. Maybe you're saying that. Okay, but I don't. I'm not trying to word here. I don't believe that. That I wish everyone was exactly like me, but what can you do? We live in a real world where not everyone is like me, and therefore I have to, we heard Marianne's beautiful Torah earlier, we did our oh, I have to never get along with my neighbor. I wish I didn't have to, but I have to. But actually, there is a wholeness in those who disagree with me. There is a beauty in the Torah. And I'm going to move further and say, I need those people who disagree with me. I need them for my Torah to exist, to be whole, to be living. I need everyone. Those who think like me, those who don't think like me. Those who agree with me, live like me, and those who do not make different choices.
So speaking of different choices, you and I have chosen rather different career paths, even though our kind of degrees, you're also a lawyer, whatever. Our like some of the degrees seem rather similar, right? But we've gone rather different paths in terms of where we choose to teach our Torah and the kinds of communities we build with that Torah. So maybe like you could say a couple words about why you chose it, the path you chose it.
Yeah. So when we were, thank you. So when we were thinking about what we wanted to talk about tonight, it's an interesting thing to think about what it means to, Dafka as an Orthodox rabbi, make a choice to. Why would that be? And I'm going to say my whole career has been in some places I've worked in. Very blessed to say that. I will say that for days we use the language of non-denominational space. And we can talk about that if that's interesting to people. So I have worked primarily throughout my whole career, and there's two things to think about in terms of that. First of all, I wanted to say that my teacher, when I first came to Paradise, who's a respectful from earlier, said that when I came to Paradise, and I would have my sort of interview as a student, he talked about what does it mean, what kind of Torah do we create when we learn Torah with those who are not just hearing each other's Torah, but actually when I sit across the table from someone who is different to me, what Torah do we create? And that has been profound for me on a personal level and as an educator, to see the kind of Torah, the kind of insights, the kind of beauty that exists when we don't agree about what the text means, when we don't agree about how the text should be applied to our lives. We don't even agree necessarily about whether the text is binding on us or its origin. And yet, what does it mean to create beautiful Torah and Torah community together? So I think the potential is really I'm so scared. Miss MSA. I don't know. Hope it all works out. But I think there's so much misconception about the Orthodox community and what it can be and what it means and its forms outside of the Orthodox community. And part of my job and part of my responsibility has felt to me, I don't know if this is true, that there is an important message to say Dafka, specifically from an Orthodox space, all Jews have to sit together. And I think is very important and I think responsible. Tell me. Your colleague friend. You grew up, you were in soil six spaces, you continue being in six spaces, but you have found your work to be primarily your quality primarily Orthodox students. Tell me about why that is.
Sure. So there's a few elements. What Yaffa was referring to is that I was in a Hillel that was just like the Orthodox community kind of wasn't really big enough to like be the only friend group. So we had a minion, we had an ear, we had kosher food, we had all the accoutrements, but like it was a deeply pluralistic or like the way we use pluralistic is kind of loose, but it was like an interdenominational space in a way that was really like intense and beautiful. But a lot of this kind of philosophy that I have actually was developed there, where you would be talking about some issue in the Jewish world, and I would say like my first principles are really different from your first principles, and they actually like stack up to, and I try to live my life with integrity in those first principles, and you do too, and that's a really, really beautiful and intense thing. But so then it's like, well, why not just try and cultivate interdenominational spaces where we encourage that. We encourage people to be reflective about their first principles. What does it mean to be a Jew in this world? Okay, let me live my life as a reflection of those and discernment process for those first principles. And there's a few answers to that. One is that I really love the Orthodox community. I think we're the community that kind of speaking before about this capital T truth. I think we're the community that kind of comes the closest to that. And I also believe, and this is where what I really want to say is that I believe the will of Kaddish is best lived out in communities that are kind of self-reinforcing, so where community members inspire each other, push each other to live up to our best selves, and that can't happen in an environment where we're all sort of like, okay, you do you, I do me, because how am I going to be pushed in my meanness when I'm in an environment where everyone just says however you are is cool? No, it's not however you are is cool. You're in a lifelong journey to like live out the highest truth of what a Kaddish Baruch Hu wants from you. That's not casual. That makes self-improvement and tikkun hamidot and becoming, becoming like a perfectly halachic Jew a really important thing. And I need other people who are on that exact same journey with me to live in community with me and to help inspire me and push me along that path. And I think that's why I believe and have kind of dedicated my very short to this day life, but hopefully the future also, and the future that I dream of is very much one lived in a kind of traditionally halachic observant Orthodox community for that reason.
Well, I want to ask you what are the limits of your approaches. We got the pros. What are some of the choosing this particular path?
The cons are that there's truth to be found outside of homogenous communities, and sometimes those truths are really important, and they're truer than the truth. They're the real truth, and you'll find out when you engage with it that what you've been living wasn't the truth, right? But if you live in a closed-off space, then how are you ever going to encounter those truths? And that's why I think that the real truth is not Orthodox, because we say like I live in this like insular community, but with a very permeable border, and what passes through that semi-permeable border are ideas, right? Because I'm reading Shakespeare and I'm studying science and I am going to college, but when I go to college, my like home base are these mitzvah observant people and the people who I hold myself accountable to at 5 in the morning and I'm married during the rest of the day in terms of my personness. And are those people, and yet I'm washed over with these other ideas. I studied philosophy and psychology undergrad, and like those ideas, I bring them into the lecture show on a week that I'm speaking, and you're gonna hear about time, you're gonna hear about the pigment effect, whatever it is, like stuff that truth to me that I use as orienting, but not as like more orienting than Torah and Mitzvot, but they're part of the Torah. They're integrated into the Torah in ways that I feel like are extremely important. But so I would say like modern Orthodoxy at its best maybe doesn't have that, but certainly being around people who live out different ideals and what they would consider truths can have a really strong effect in terms of like reshuffling your own sense of truth.
I think this question is very interesting. And my experience is that I'm often like you can plan for sometimes the moments that you know are going to come up, but you're going to have friction and think about how to overcome them. And for example, like I'm constantly in pluralistic spaces on Shabbat, and like where it comes up, I would say for me, like Shabbat practice and kashrut issues, and how do we navigate those as a community without hurting each other? I think is probably the question of our time. Well, one of the questions. But that's one. And you can plan for it, and then sometimes it doesn't work out. That's why I find for people it's like I'm in a moment where I have to make a choice between the person who's getting in front of me, who I could potentially really harm on a personal level, and a life practice. that are my standards. And I would say that there are times when I've very clearly been like, look, I'm an Orthodox halacha abiding Jew, and even more so, I'm in a position of authority at times, not always, but at times I'm in a position of authority in this space. And what is my responsibility at those moments? And by the way, to the other person I'm dealing with, and to the other participants in that program, and to the institution that chose to grant me ordination, and to my other students who are not present there. And those things are really happening. They're very live, real questions that are very important to think about. And then on the other hand, this person who I really don't want to hurt. And I can't really ever justify hurting someone. It just, for me, it feels like, and it's so popular, such a popular thing to say in certain ways. Obviously, it's unpopular. Some people think it's awesome, some people not. But like in certain ways, it feels like so easy. Like, oh, and it is an easy moment, but this is where I feel like halacha has the potential to be unsaid. How this is the moment where creative solutions, where you have to, on the spot, you're like, okay, try to think, okay, what's happening here halachically? What level of halachic obligation we have? Is it a geder? Is it a takara? What's happening? What other meta halachic values are involved in this conversation? Yeah, you're sitting here with a person who just offered whatever. I don't know. I don't want to use a case, but you're sitting with a person, you have like 25 seconds, and you're like, and like all of your schooling knowledge is pouring into your head, like, okay, try to find, and there's times when you really can't find a way out. And a way to say, I'm going to prioritize the feelings of the person sitting in front of me, and the long-term game of that relationship, and their relationship to the spiritual life, halakha, Judaism, right? That's also very important. That's sitting there on the table. And then your own red line. That's very live. That's where I feel like the most live. That is the question. And that's where halacha's creativity and dynamism can be used as a tool.
Yeah.
Orthodox. Very. That we have to keep growing and advancing and doing and how do we and that's what
Let's take some more questions.
I'll take it. It's my own ego. I mean, in the sense, it's delightful to hear you talking together about this. Because I'm hearing and the decisions I make. And what's wrong, I guess my issue is, and it's from are precisely those red lines, but those red lines, which I think are sometimes not only those specific situations you described, that you have to make certain choices and sometimes yes or no. But there's the attitude and the differences between those within orthodoxy, but those within orthodoxy and outside orthodoxy are not sure we're really having a conversation. There are from whom to learn, there's whom are from whom to Torah, but on some basic fundamental stuff, which relates to Jewish identity, definition of Jewish, what we define as community marriage, how we marry people, and even more, I think, problematic, how we marry people, and the destructive nature of what's going on, in terms where there is some common sense of certain ways we do in Jewish tradition, even with the denominational differences. I think those are absent. I think part of what I've seen and what I struggle with is an inability for orthodoxy to say yes, and an inability for those outside of orthodoxy to say no. So that's what I'm struggling with, looking back over all these years. I just throw that out there as for your reflections, because I really appreciate it.
A little more sort of straightforward. I very hope. So I think a little bit like the last 50, 60 years, I think with the like we've seen happening and often come about as a result of polemic, whether because of concern about what other denominations are doing or not doing. And I kind of just wanted to hear from you talk about sort of how this plays out in those little spaces, and maybe if you think it is productive or not productive, and if it's not productive, how we can make it productive, like what that sort of idea would be from sort of this place that you guys are both.
Was it?
You're afraid of both of that, Tom.
Let's answer some of
Oh, you should have listening session.
You don't want to? Oh. I want to say this, and I appreciate what you said about pros and orthodoxy. I'm so against. I know I said orthodoxy, but I really want to stop saying orthodoxy now. It is not. That's not the way we live in. This is a joke I would have made. Anyway, there are many denominations that do not consider themselves Orthodox, and there are many versions of Orthodoxy. And in the same way that you could say that, like, are we having the same conversation with those who are not identified as Orthodox, right? I think the same exact question needs to be asked all the way to the right, right? And so you know, who is having the same conversation? I will say that I just came from 2 days of amazing adult ed think tank, and I have to strongly, with tremendous, huge amounts of respect, disagree. I actually think the question on the table was, how do we do excellent adult Jewish education? And there was a very broad range of people at the table, and different kinds of education, and to me, it felt like very clear to me that we were having a conversation about what it means build a Jewish future. And so I think we are having the same conversation and we have the capacity to. I know what the thing is, what about status issues? First of all, status issues are things that we can't get together as a community. The question I have is, as Rabbanit Sarna said, did we ever get together? Right? I think we have this myth. To me, it feels mythic that we ever had a time in Jewish history when we mamish all agreed what Kiddushin looked like. We're told that we did it. Hillel and Shammai did not agree about what the act of marriage or the amount. I know the amount of money that it took, and that's not real ramifications, right? In terms of do we consider people married? Do you consider married? Do they need to get divorced? Do you consider them married? Right? So, and that plays out. Personal status. Now, Hashem stepped in. And everything was fine. What does that mean? Right? What does it mean that I think it's actually a real question. What does it mean that Hashem's married? Meaning it was a miracle, everything worked out, or it means we figured out a way to not let personal status issues destroy us. That's the question of our day, by the way. Here we go. Okay, but right, that's and how do we do that? And what do we need? What are the things? What are the spaces we need? What are the teachers that we need? What is the Torah that we need? How do we use Torah as the answer to saying we have a firm bedrock that will not allow us to give up on each other? And I really do believe that that exists right now. I'm so optimistic that that is growing, that bedrock that says we will not give up on each other, even as we are having massive debates that could be threatening. So I'm very optimistic. I also don't really believe that Hoskin and by polemic is new either. Polemic is not 60 years old, 2,000 years old, and that's what it is to have an opinion. And when I like the polemic, I think it's great that we're talking about polemic, and when I don't, I don't. So like any other. That's really honest. I'm being really honest, right? Like, so again, it's not new.
I have a lot of like Torah to learn from both of you, and I like sound on me to be like, oh, like I disagree. Like I do disagree, but that's okay. I think it's okay. I'm not sure it's okay, but I would say that like insofar as there's Torah to be found in other places, right? Like if I'm a person who makes decisions about how I tie my shoes in the morning, then I need to be striving to do that in the optimal kind of way. And so that means that if someone else has a more true idea of how to do that, it's not like casual. You have some truth and I have some truth. It's like I need all the truth. And so right. So that's why I'm not a pluralist. Not because I think I have necessarily achieved it, but because the way I tie my shoes in the morning, like that the decision to do it in that way means that I've decided that based on principles. And possibly somewhere out there, those principles are wrong, and I'll learn something new, and I'll be challenged in this. But then I'll have to reshuffle how I tie my shoes in the morning. My whole life needs to be like one Tetris piece above the next, based on a foundation of like what I think God wants from me, or from us, right? And it's not casual to say someone else has a truth that I don't have. Like I need that truth in order to fulfill my goal of what it is to be alive. And to live in this world as a Jew, which is to like fulfill its own Hashem. So that's right. There's like a perpetual hunger in the ideology that I'm laying out, which is a hunger for like other people might have truth and I want it and I need it because I can't live my life right without it. And there's a confidence that comes from like all the truth that I've met so far. I feel like maybe you'll teach me that I haven't maximally integrated it. But I've integrated it to the extent that it affects every decision that I make. And there's a reason why I made every decision that I make. Or, I mean, unless I did it wrong, which is always a possibility. But nothing is like, there shouldn't be random. It shouldn't be like, oh, it's Orthodox parents, therefore I'm Orthodox. It's like, no, I do this because it is with Hashem. And I've gone through a discernment process about that, which included like learning a lot of Torah, and therefore I do this. And the decision, any other decision, would have to stem out of some like massive like change in my. So that's that. To you, in every like halachic decision, there's a lot of pieces. So there is the polemic piece, and then there's the what does God want from me and my community piece. So and then there's a million other pieces also. But like I'm kind of uniquely interested in like what does God want from me and my community, and what does the Torah say, and how do I best apply it to myself and these other people and these times. And so the like polemical element of any halachic piece would just be like not my primary focus in determining whether or not I should eat swordfish. It should be like I'm a member of the community of Ovdei Hashem and they haven't eaten swordfish for a lot of years and that's why I don't eat swordfish because it worked for them or something like that. But not because like, oh, they eat swordfish and I don't like to find that like maybe I'm wrong and maybe I need to reconsider. But yeah.
I just want to ask, just one question. I've always straddled those spaces, and if you think that is something that's possible, do that in a true fashion. I mean, also for those community. So I'm in Orthodox yeshiva, but I teach which is definitely pluralistic and non-denominational, and if that's the pros and cons that the those things, not necessarily just being one.
I feel the same way. I feel like I straddle both spaces, and my prayer community on a personal individual level is Orthodox, and my work community is denominational. And
So I'll go the other way, which is to say, it depends what you mean by straddle both spaces. Meaning, like, if my decision to be part of the Orthodox community, to be a leader within that community, would be like I believe that there's some like deep truth expressed through this community that I'm committed to, and then I'm going out into some other community. Well, why am I there? Like, I personally feel that modern Orthodox Jews like should actively engage in kiruv. Like, we should say like what we have is right and true, and I want other people to know it. And that means yes, going out into those other spaces, but not because you do you, I do me, but because I think you should learn Torah. Here's how the Torah is best interpreted according to like this truth that I live my life by, and I want you to like be exposed to it because I have a goal for you. And maybe right, and here's the fun part is now Marianne responds, you're never going to know what she really thinks because her real goal would not be served by telling people that that's her goal. So,
although they don't. And then it's interesting when I come into the pluralistic space, very often I'll ask them, what are you? Like what denomination? And I'll say, it doesn't matter, but you'll figure it out. Yeah, we'll figure it out as we go along. What I'm yeah.
I also think we should be engaging in kiruv just for we as educators, and I also want to help like the caravan with Torah. Like I want people to feel very close to Torah, but I don't need them to feel close to Orthodox.
we're technically outside.
Yeah, okay.
Has all of this beautiful pluralists and pluralists.
We were trying to make it interesting.
think put through with the caveat that I would never to do about it. But now, all that each of us has is a possible thing. All of us one perhaps actually we actually make it to some extent actually. Not everybody can be a copy of Orthodox or a rabbi or so it's not time to should probably not think most.
Oh, there are.
My question.
No shoot time. I'm a lefty, the shoot time also is a risk of being right-handed. I just don't tie my shoes. It's fine.
To say, we have to all agree right? Otherwise, on the other hand, we can also recognize and I hold on to what I have.
No, I don't, not exactly.
And there are others like me. And we're also studying Calvin, like Rabbanit, like very quote unquote transcendent term and but at the same time, like I feel like we also are kind of calling for more tradition while keeping on that criticism. So what I would say for me as someone who rarely can do it, I have holy envy for my Orthodox friends because they can do daily prayer. I wish we could do that on the group meetings. I don't see it in any way as anti-reform. But it does seem like we're calling for more millennials. And also just accept us of are there really movements? Are we really just all calling for kind of this very umbrella?
In terms of the lesson piece, I wanted to say like there's so many Jewish sources that I feel like share that same idea. You know, everyone saw that through a aspect like that. So that we can keep going, and then there's this great Midrash TV, which about Moshe saying, "Just tell me what to do, and I should do it not for you to know." You know. Okay, so yeah, totally. I know we have to say this. I'm just gonna keep going. No, it's a great question. Why we're getting away. Whether denominations are going to die and millennials are going to sort of move past that. I'm not sure. Again, because I really believe that like that's the reality of the world. We find that so it might not be called Reform, Orthodox, Conservative, Renewal, Reconstructionist, Hasidic, Neo-Hasidic, you know, Yiddish. It might not be called those names anymore, but we'll I think those are having to very similar situations because the reality is, and millennials need identity, and I think it's amazing that millennials are being offered more access to traditional activities called learning Torah. And I agree with you that there's many areas where we don't need to argue. And I think that whatever happens in the future will still bring it to different practice and different understanding and different leaders. And so the question of how we all get along and understand each other will still be relevant to the Jewish people. So it might not have to look the same, but it's going to be my prediction.
You and I have in the past done like 10 rounds on millennials. Oh, do you remember that? I love millennials. I am one.
I'm so bored. I just changed it. I made it in by 1 year.
Characteristics of millennials that I particularly enjoy, and then goes a little bit into the Federation whatever discussion. And part of it is that the millennials, as you kind of aptly described, and that's my experience as well, there's this like intense search for authenticity, and that's why I think Orthodox is the answer. I think that's my closing statement.